ChatGPT rolled out a few updates last week. Maybe it was panicking after all the Google announcements. It rolled out its iOS app, browsing features, and the plugins to ChatGPT Plus users. Google announced that Bard AI Chat, which is now 10x smarter because of its underlying PaLM 2 model. Maybe it's even a little bit superior in terms of internet connectivity compared to ChatGPT, even with its browsing capabilities. ChatGPT Plus is a paid service, and Bard is entirely free at the moment. There is also free Bing Chat from Microsoft. Is it still worth buying ChatGPT Plus if you only need the internet connectivity? Is it worth it? I think ChatGPT and its browsing ability has a lot more work to do when compared to Bard. We're going to have a look at ChatGPT's browsing capabilities and its plugins and how that compares to Bard AI and Bing Chat. To use the plugins, obviously, you need a ChatGPT Plus subscription. To enable web browsing in your ChatGPT interface, you need to go to Settings and Beta Features and make sure that web browsing is enabled. And now if you go to GPT-4, you can see the new option, Browsing under Beta. And if you want the plugins, do the same thing in the Settings under Beta Features, enable the plugins. Now if you hover over GPT-4, you should see the plugins as well. You can only use one at a time. It's either browsing or plugins enabled. If you go to the plugins enabled, you can see that no plugins are enabled. This new drop down will appear here. You can go to the plugin store, click on that. It will give you a little bit of description about what plugins are. They are third-party applications that are not controlled by OpenAI. Plugins connect ChatGPT to external apps. If you enable a plugin, ChatGPT may send parts of your conversation and the country or state you are in to the plugin to enhance your conversation. So keep all that in mind. ChatGPT automatically chooses when to use plugins during a conversation depending on the plugins you have enabled. Go ahead and click OK there. And now you can see all the plugins that are available. These are the popular plugins here, especially the ones that were shown in the demo of the plugin features when it was sort of like announced that this was coming into market. Instacart, OpenTable. You can go through all these plugins to see what they actually do. There's a ton of them actually. 13 pages at the moment. Look at this plugin here, I am rich. Proudly declare that I am rich. Not really sure what that does, but you have all sorts of stuff like SEO, apps, market research. Or anyway, you can actually go through all these plugins, see which ones you like. I'm going to install some of the plugins that I think I would need for this purposes of this video. As you can see, some plugins like Zapier requires that you have logged in. All right, let's first try out the web browsing feature before we try out the plugins. As a content creator, one thing that I do very common is market research, internet research. Let's try that first. I'll also test the same thing with Bard and Bing Chat later in this video, so you can see how that compares. What are the most trending AI news that happened in the last 2 weeks? Is browsing, clicking on a link. As you can see, some failures are happening there. Clicking on a link. So you can see there, try to click on links and fail 3 times. Again, trying here 4 times, clicking on a link. This is not going well for ChatGPT. Alright, I apologize for the inconvenience and there seems to be a technical issue. It failed to click on several links, but it did give 3 points. The CEO of OpenAI has made statements to Senate about potential risks of increasingly powerful AI. Google made significant AI-related announcements. That seems accurate. It failed at a lot of things, but it did come back with 3. Try it again, and same thing. I apologize for the inconvenience. It seems that I'm currently experiencing issues. However, I can still provide information about general AI trends because trained until 2021. Not really. It doesn't seem to be working for the purposes of my internet research. Or let's now try with the plugins enabled. I have this World News plugin here enabled. You can actually enable multiple plugins at the same time, but you can only use the plugins or the browsing. You can't do both at the same time. Again, the same query using World News. Now it's actually using the World News plugin. Now that is giving you, that's not bad actually, because that's much more. Italy is investing in 30 million to help workers retrain as artificial intelligence transforms the labor market worldwide. OpenAI released a ChatGPT app for iOS. This seems relevant actually. The plugins actually seem to work. This essentially, I think, enables you to chat with the APIs of these third-party applications and retrieve data that way rather than clicking on these links. And I think it's a bit superior. A chat interface to other business data. That's what it is. This is superior. I think it's because there's not actually any browsing that is involved. I think under the hood, when you enable browsing, it uses some kind of like Chrome headless browser to browse and go through the links. Whereas in this case, it is directly integrated through the plugins APIs. So there is actually no clicking going on here. And so it works. These plugins are like sort of like agents, and ChatGPT works as an orchestrator. Whenever it recognizes that it can use a certain action with a plugin, it sends that data to that plugin and retrieves that information. Sort of like an AGI, like AutoGPT. Pretty promising. But browsing, I'm not a big fan of. Now I want to test out if I can give it manual links, because one of the things that I usually do is copy paste from articles to summarize it. But often I find that the article length is so big, it is out of the token limit or the context of ChatGPT. So if I can give it a link and it can read from that link, I don't have to go through all the process of copy pasting or summarizing before I give it to ChatGPT. Whenever I do start with a YouTube video or a YouTube video idea, I generally go to YouTube channels in the same space and look at their latest videos, which ones are performing well, do a similar sort of video. Let's just try to do that. So I'm asking it here, what are some of the latest videos that are trending and published in the last 2 weeks on YouTube channel link. Let's come back with a response. I am sorry, but I am experiencing technical difficulties accessing YouTube URL. So you can see that in the chat context today, it has come back. If you look at the browser window here, you can see that it has come back with technical difficulty encounter. So not good. It doesn't work necessarily there. And it brings a lot of frustration at times because you are paying for it. And with a very hefty price tag, $20 a month, that is $240 in a year, if you do the math, especially when there are other alternatives like Bard, which is free. So we have done these tests with ChatGPT. I'm not impressed per se, but plugins, they show potential. I'm going to do the same test with Bard. Let's see how that fares. All right, I'm asking Bard, what are the most trending AI news that happened in the last 2 weeks? It's pretty fast, although this is a replay of what I actually did, but it's actually fast. It actually gave me some accurate information. Google announces new AI division to challenge OpenAI. Google has consolidated its AI research labs, Google Brain and DeepMind. Tesla's AI supercomputer, something about that. Chess robot breaks child's finger after premature move. Shutterstock launches AI image generator. As you can see, this is actually pretty accurate. It has given me 3 drafts here, and if I click on one of the other drafts, I can see that it has given a little bit of blurb or a description along with all the news that happened, and each one has a slightly different news bits. Let's have a look at my internet research. I've done the same thing with ChatGPT earlier as well. Give some of my the channels that are in the space and give some of the latest videos, and Google Bard does a great job of doing this. I'm going to give the same prompt that I had given ChatGPT. That is pretty perfect actually. It gives all the latest videos with the published date, so you know that it is accurate. But sometimes it can just spit out random dates. So check, be sure thing is actually accurate. But I had checked it. Have a look at this. It has given me the view count, the published date into a table as well when prompted. This is actually pretty good. Bard just kills it here. It should have multiple conversation threads here though, so that we can come back to each conversation, just like ChatGPT does, so that we can come back to the context of that one particular conversation if you want to, and continue the chat from where you left off. And also, as I mentioned before, in terms of memory management, I think ChatGPT is better retaining the memory and understanding what was talked about before. Maybe Fox at Google already knows this. That's why they don't have the conversation history tab. One of the key things to note here is though that Bard users doesn't do any sort of like clicking or anything to access the internet. It uses Google's cloud platform, uses Google search APIs. It even has access to YouTube APIs, so it can search for videos and get the view count and all that. It is integrated. And we have one more contender here, Bing Chat. Let's have a look. Bing Chat again uses the same OpenAI APIs, but it's just that uses APIs to do Bing searches. It doesn't do any clicking. So it's a bit superior to ChatGPT's browsing capability, but doesn't actually give accurate information. Also, I'm not a big fan of forcing someone to use Microsoft Edge just to use Bing Chat features. So I'm just asking the same query, what are the most trending AI news that happened last 2 weeks? It does search for it and generating the answers for me. And I have checked the links here, but these are outdated. Even though it says 2023, maybe that's why it picked it up, but it is actually published last year. It does not so bad job. It does give all the source links, which I think it is pretty good. And it also gives some additional information like the visual representation of all the articles that it had gone through. And it also gives suggested what next to do. At the bottom here, what is generative AI? But then again, you can't entirely rely on the accuracy of the results here, but it's still better than ChatGPT. As you can see, I have gone through all the links here. Bard does a great job of this. It just searched for new AI news last 2 weeks in Bing. What it had done, it just went to that one website and had listed all the top 3 in the features section. Here in this result, it talked about Google's announcements, Palm 2's, Bard's coding abilities and stuff like that. So it is still more relevant, I guess, than ChatGPT. It does the same job. It does a wonderful job, actually. One thing I noticed, though, is that if you set it to more precise, it tends to be more precise. So make sure you check that. But here I try to give it what are some latest videos that are trending on and published on last 2 weeks in YouTube channel. It did give me the list of videos, but what it did was it just searched for that string in Bing search probably to get that answer. And these are not accurate. This does go beyond 2 weeks. So it's not accurate. I think Bard is a clearly winner when it comes to internet research, and especially because of its search integration with Search API. I think I'm going to stick with Bard for my internet research and use ChatGPT for text generation, script generation, stuff like that. You don't have the context limitation. Bard can read from a link, ask it to read from that link, answer some questions based on that. When it comes to internet connectivity and accuracy, I prefer Bard. ChatGPT is still useful for text-based generation, for emails and script writing, copywriting. I think it is much more sensible to combine all these tools, use them for the tasks where they excel at. If you're into like plugins seem to do a good job because they are directly integrated. I just don't like the clicking thing, browsing, reading content failed, multiple failures, and after waiting for a while, you get nothing. I do think that if ChatGPT switches into something like an API-based search, it could improve all this functionality. And in terms of GPT Plus subscription, I think there is no need. If you just want access to internet, you can definitely use Bard. It is much more capable. If you want plugins and if you think that some of the plugins can actually add value to your workflow or process, keep your GPT Plus subscription. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep my ChatGPT Plus subscription because I do want to keep making these videos about plugins and the updates. So I'm not necessarily going to use it for myself or any of my use cases. That's it. Goodbye. You may like this video here. Check it out.